Hey everybody, Jesse Casto here with another Friday Shop Talk. Today I'm going to be talking about starting a machine shop with the Tormach. So for those of you that aren't aware, I started my shop with a 7070 MX. So we officially kicked off in January 2021. And for a little bit of background on my full experience with it, I had it for about a year and a half. I had never used a Tormach before. I got this one, purchased it without ever having seen one, touched one, looked at one in person. Ran it for a year and a half before I was able to upgrade to two proper industrial grade machines. Our first 12 months with that, we had generated $100,000 in revenue. About 70% of that was from mixometry, and we went full time after 6 months. So I started in January, I went full time in June, primarily pulling work from mixometry. So some of the questions I see quite a bit, I want to go over those real quick. I've seen a lot of people ask why the Tormach, why not a used machine or a sill. I guess they're really hitting the market now. So I had picked the Tormach because at the time I wasn't very aware of other hobbyist level machines. I needed something that would be precise. I needed a tool changer, and I needed something that I could just plug into the wall and operate. My house was built in 1970. I still have the original breaker box. So for me to do anything beyond plug in the wall single phase, I was looking at probably $8,000 in upgrades to the house before I even started looking at the machine. So the Tormach was basically plug and play for me. I was able to buy it, bring it home, assemble it, plug it in, and start making chips. I didn't want to have to deal with, can it work? What do I need to do to phase up the power, anything like that. And I was working in a 2-car garage that had 2 project cars in it, so space was also a big factor for me starting out. I could wedge the Tormach into just a little bitty corner of my garage to keep things moving. And how did I pay for it? So I bought my Tormach, my 770 MX brand new. It was $32,000. And with a tooling kit and some basic MLs from Tormach. I bought it with financing from Geneva Capital. To get that done, I put down about $4,000 for a down payment. And when I first started, my first round of materials and extra tools and stuff like that was on $2,500 on a credit card. So as when you're looking at bootstrapping a machine shop and starting with very little, I started with $4,000 cash and $2,500 in credit. So now I've got a larger shop, part-time employee, just brought on a full-time guy, and we're going from there. So it doesn't take much to get started. People always ask, how accurate is it? Is it able to do tight tolerance work, things like that? And from my experience, it is fully capable of doing plus minus 1 thou. That machine like this, it's very much, it can hold that tolerance, but you have to work with the machine a little bit more often than you typically do to keep that kind of tolerancing. And when I say work with the machine, I mean more than just comp it for heat expansion, thermal expansion, but I mean like checking the gibs, indicating different things on the machine, making sure they're staying true. Because on a simple machine like this, they fall out of tolerance a lot more than industrial machines, which really don't fall out of tolerance in some of those ways. So it is accurate enough. It takes a little more effort if you're maintaining tight tolerances on a lot of stuff, but it can do the job. And I'd say a lot of people ask if I used it for my own products or job shop work, and I am solely a job shop. I don't have any of my own products or anything like that. So everything I did on it was job shop work. So I would run aluminum and then plastic and then brass and then stainless and steel and kind of hopping between all the materials. Really put my machine through the ringer. But so here's kind of my review on the Tormach as a machinist. Personal background, I've been machining for about 18 years now, working with Leadwells, Haas, Kitamura, a little bit of Morisiki, some of those machines. So here's my thoughts on it as a machinist previously before having it. So for my other guys out there who work in the trade already, it is a capable machine. It is able to work on any material. It is able to hold tolerances, tight tolerances. Takes a little more effort, but it can. That's the big thing, is that it is able to. That's all I needed. It is incredibly easy to use. I really like the operating system on it. It's very intuitive, very straightforward, very simple. The touch screen on it is really, really nice to have. And having a full keyboard and mouse is also pretty handy to use. And the nice thing is it's also plug and play. I programmed with Fusion 360. I already had the post for it. I didn't have to do any editing to that. Learning how to set it up to where you can put in programs over Wi-Fi. I did most of mine via USB stick. Was very straightforward and simple to do. Not a lot of effort to get fired up. I think it took me 2 weekends to get the machine assembled, and I was cutting chips that second weekend. So from day 1 to day 4 of getting the machine, I was cutting metal. A couple downsides, though, is it is not a very powerful machine. It only has 1.5 horsepower. It has decent feed rates for a small machine like that, but you're limited by that power. I think my typical cut was with a 3/8 end mill, and I would be like 20 to 25 thousandths with the cut at 80 to 100 inches a minute or something like that. And that was with a chip breaker end mill, I think from Gar. But not powerful, not a very powerful machine. You'll have to get used to longer cycle times. But when you're running out of your garage, it's not that big of a deal to have longer cycle times, because if it's 20 minutes, you can go inside and hang out for a little bit, make some lunch, watch some TV. Pretty convenient to have that kind of setup. The big thing I have with Tormach is my personal experience with their support was not a good one. I had a few issues with my machine in the time that I had it. My screen went out once. I think I had an issue on my Gib, I had a few issues with Gibbs, but I had a minor one with the Z. Simple issues from Tormach are very simple, very straightforward to get fixed. Basically, my screen went out. I told them, they sent me a new screen. I replaced it and sent the old screen back. Real quick in and out. But I think on my kind of luck, I had the 1 in 100,000 defects on my machine. The turkite came out from underneath the table, which was not common. From what I understand, they had not seen that before, but it happened to me. But their support, when the issue is a little more advanced and it's not a straightforward replacement, was horrendous, to say the least. I don't want to go too much into this. I don't want to drag Tormach so openly through the mud. But I did not have a good experience with their support, and that about put me out of business within my first 12 months or so. So that's just kind of a risk with having a small Chinese-built machine like this. They buy it out of China, it lands in a warehouse, and they pretty much just kick it over to you from there. So if there are defects, if there are issues, they're more likely to get through to you. And if they're more advanced of an issue, then you might not have the best luck getting support for it. So to kind of want to go over my final thoughts on this machine, I'd say it's a cool machine. It can do the job. It got me where I am with my 2 other industrial grade machines, and the Tormach's long gone now. So it can do the job. It is cheap to get. It is easy to learn. Only big flag I would put on it is I would be hesitant to rely on it as your sole source of income, especially if you operate as a job shop where you need full capability because you don't know what's coming in the door next. So let's say, because with me, I had significant issues with it. It about put me under before I even had a second machine on the floor, because I was solely dependent on it. So if it gave up, then I wasn't moving anything. So that's a risk. That's part of what you need to acknowledge. Otherwise, it's a good enough machine to get you here. It was cheap for me to get into it. So if you're in a similar boat where you're having to bootstrap your whole company from complete scratch, then it's definitely a viable option. But that's all I have for this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, give me comments, questions, feedback, anything like that. I did kick out a new email address if you want to email me directly with looking for questions or anything. Let me know. It's yt@bettercnc.com. I'd say YT for YouTube at bettercnc.com. Otherwise, everybody have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.